Good morning. That was quite the introduction. How's it going? You all settled in? Have a nice coffee? I liked the coffee this morning. Thought it was pretty good. I'm Tim. I live out in San Francisco, originally from Belgium, and I'm an idiot. Up till Monday, I thought that this conference was in Norway. Born and raised in Europe, so there's no one to blame but me. Like, I even watch Eurovision every single year, and I still made that mistake. That's a good segue into my talk. I got into design about 10 years ago, and most of the early part of my career, I was always the only designer, either responsible for an entire product or responsible for a specific platform. So I was freelance web designer. Then I joined Gowalla, and at Gowalla I was the only designer responsible for the iOS app. After Gowalla, I moved on to Instagram, where it was me again alone working on the mobile apps. And I was always a team of one. And I liked that. It was me, and I love me. Me. This is a very famous quote I'm sure all of you have seen before, but I never liked it. I always thought there was something wrong with it. In my opinion, it's not if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go together. It's if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, have more coffee and just keep pushing on it. Throughout the different jobs I had, it became clear that I was lacking this specific skill, which was the ability to collaborate with other human beings, with other designers or other parts of the organization. I didn't like getting feedback. I didn't like getting criticized. I was pretty bad at at critiquing other people's work as well. So after Instagram, I decided that I needed to change, because this was actively blocking my career, like the progression of my career. I didn't just need a change, I needed an intervention. I decided to join Dropbox. They've always had a large team of very well-respected designers, and they're consistently shipping these amazing products over and over again across multiple platforms. It's a very complicated product. So I joined them, and I spent time working on the Dropbox client. I spent time working on Carousel, another app they had, and I spent some time on Mailbox and with some other teams. Throughout doing all of that, I learned how to function as a team and not just as a single person. And that was because all of those amazing designers at Dropbox, they were willing to kind of mentor me, have the hard talks with me. I remember at one point, two of their designers, they took me out in the hallway, and they're like, "Tim, you got to change. Like, it's not just a Tim show. Like, this is like the entire company is at stake." And at that point, I realized that it wasn't. I realized that it was my fault that I was always working by myself. I just didn't open up to other people. I never invited other people to join in my process. So when I left Dropbox, I left with a healthy obsession about how teams work, and like especially design teams, how they work, how design fits into the larger organization, how it's not just about collaboration inside a design team. It's like, how do you involve everyone? Support, sales, management, how you involve everyone in the design process. Fast forward to today, as you might know, I work at Abstract, and we recently shipped our first public version of the app. We spent a year and a half working on it, It's the most complex product I've ever worked on, and definitely the most satisfying as well, because of the complexity and just because of the past year and a half were just a blast trying to crack this nut of how do you improve the design process. For those who don't know, Abstract helps you version the design work through tracking the changes that you make to it. And it allows for easy collaboration with other designers, while at the same time offering a very transparent look of what the design team is working on at all times. So again, the entire company can look in. And for the first time, there's this way to create a rich documentation about how design happens and why it happened. We all know the story where you join a new company and your first job is to work on an existing product they had. Obviously, what you do is you go look at the current design and you try to figure out how did they ever arrive at this product? What were the design decisions made there? And usually they'll tell you like, oh, go talk to that person. That person worked on this specific version. But it might be that person has left the company, and with that person also, like all the design knowledge kind of walked out the building. So we create this rich history of why design is the way it is, and a lot more. So we got to this point of the public beta by doing a ton of work. It wasn't an easy job, but it was fun. And the way we started the process off was basically by compiling a list of to-dos. Like, what are the things that we want to solve? When I first walked into the Abstract office to meet with the two co-founders, the only thing they had at that point was a tech demo. It was just a proof of concept, where they showed me how they would take a sketch file and then apply Git to it, branch off across multiple branches, make changes, and then merge those changes all back together. And that blew me away. And I literally begged them to come work there, and I quit my job at Dropbox as soon as the visa came through, because visas are fun. But again, we had this proof of concept to start working with, and we needed structure to initiate the work. We had the luxury of time, raised some money, but obviously, like, we didn't want to run out of time. Preferably, we want to ship something before we run out of time and money. So our first goal was to create a design workflow that works for design teams of all shapes and sizes, all the way up from a design team of one till maybe an organization with multiple design teams with multiple designers in them. We wanted to kind of narrow down the scope and have a list of features that we wanted to ship, sort of like a guideline. Like, if we build all these features, we should be good to like do a public launch. Most importantly, like, we didn't even know if we could turn this into a business. Are people going to be willing to pay money for this? Because, like, if not, you can't live off of investors' money forever, even though a lot of companies seem to do that in Silicon Valley, which blows my mind. So with these decisions kind of made, we looked at the different stages that the process would go through. The company was founded by a bunch of dads, like people with families. We didn't want to overwork ourselves. We didn't want to do 12-hour work days, but we wanted to consistently do good work and consistently build on this product day after day. So our first step was we had to do research. This was something that has been attempted a couple times, but has never successfully been done. So we wanted to make sure that we didn't create a product just for us. We talked to as many designers and as many design teams as we could, just to learn more about how different people do their work every day. after the research process part came the building of prototypes. And we knew we needed at least one prototype, probably more, to kind of build and then be able to use the product ourselves, maybe start showing around to some other people. Because again, this is all new ground. After that, private alpha, like, can we turn this into a business? Are people willing to work this way? And then the last step is where we are today, open it up for everyone so they can use it and so we can work on the bugs and the stability. So we start with the research. Up to that point, like every new project I started, like I would just open Sketch and start designing the UI. When we started working on Abstract, we spent weeks not doing any design, not even on paper. Because again, we knew we had the technology to kind of build this thing, but we didn't know what the UX around it was going to be. What's the design? What does the UI look like? How is this going to work? What's the flow of actually doing work in this? So we need to know, like, can we persuade people to change the way they do design work every single day? Like Un said in the introduction, the final V2, like that's not an uncommon thing. That happens every single day. Currently, it's the way how most design teams work, and they'll put their files on Dropbox or Box or Google Drive or anything. They have a different system. Every team has a different system of folders where they do it per project and then per designer, per feature. It's all different. And Abstract was going to change all that. The design would be open. A lot of designers like to keep a design close to them until they think it's ready and then share it with the rest of the team, not world. In Abstract, that would change. You do your work, and then you have to commit, and then in the commit, you kind of document the changes you made. But as soon as you hit that commit button, it is visible for the entire team. So we had to set up a system of signals, basically. Like, this is work in progress, which means you can look at it, you can say something about it, but don't, like, it's not done yet. And then from work in progress, it goes to open for feedback, and then when all the feedback is in, you turn it into request for approval, basically. After which step you typically merge all the changes back into master. So, like I said, we had a lot of conversations. We transcribed all those conversations so we could access our research at any point in time. We talked about how the teams work, how they structure their work, and how their approval process works. So we could build something around it. So after that, after a couple of weeks of doing that, came the prototyping. We actually built 3 fully functional prototypes, and the first one was the roughest of all. We built something we thought might work, and as soon as we started using it, we just realized, like, no, this is not going to work. Threw it away, start working on the second prototype, and the flow was rough, but when we start showing it around to people, they start understanding how it could work, like the whole commit and branch workflow. So we kept a part of that prototype, threw the rest away, and start working on prototype number 3, where we feel like we really cracked the workflow. Gave it to a handful of friends, and after their feedback, we decided, like, all right, this is what we want to continue pushing on, basically, and push it into the private beta, so more people could start using it. Oh, forgot about those. Next step was the private alpha, and the reason it was private is we wanted to control how many people and what type of teams were using the app. We started targeting a specific team size of around 5, typical Silicon Valley design workflow, because that's what we were very familiar with. It also helped us control the server load and keep bugs contained from spreading to, like, tons and tons of potential customers. And it allowed us to see, like, how even though it was still like aimed towards like Silicon Valley companies, like it allowed us to see how companies that weren't us used the product, gave us a lot more data to work off. And like this is especially important because the app it's pretty open-ended. There's an implied workflow, but we don't really enforce it. We kind of hint at what the best thing is to do. And it also gave us more time to build out features. Now today, we're in a public beta. That was a huge change because we basically went from building a product with a team of 6 to building a business because we're also charging for the product, which is very, very important for us. Again, you see a lot of companies out there just living off of investor money. And so for us, it was really important to start charging as much as possible. So people didn't get the wrong expectations. The typically free software goes away after a while, which is really sad. And we wanted to make sure that people trust what we're working on. We have a couple more features to build, and like the top priority right now is fixing bugs and working on the performance. And hopefully, at some point, we'll launch the official version 1. We're not sure when that's going to happen. That's fine. It could be a couple of weeks, could be a couple of months. We'll know when we're ready. Like till then, people can use the product today. People do. They use it to do actual work, and it's phenomenal just seeing going through the list of names of companies using our product. Like, definitely makes me very, very proud to be part of this. Through all these steps, there were 3 constants throughout the development, like 3 focus areas that we're continually like trying to improve on, and these are product, team, and users. Let's start with product. It's always been very important for us to make sure there's a clear North Star of what you want to build. A North Star is just like, it's a set of guidelines, a very simplified way of saying this is what we want to build, this is a feature set we want to build. It might not be perfect, it might change throughout the development, but it creates a way for people to know which way they need to be moving in. Because no matter how much work you do trying to structure everything and trying to plan everything, there will be a point where everyone on the team, anyone on the team, will be kind of lost, not sure what to work on, what the next thing is they should be working on. They might get distracted by a feature that doesn't matter. So this North Star helps keep the entire company move in the same direction. And I've seen larger companies where that isn't the case, and you just end up with kind of like chaos, people not knowing what they should work on, what's the most important thing for them to pick up. Because in the end, the company is the most important thing. They pay your paycheck so that you help them succeed and make more money. The second thing we put in place is our 90% rule, where shipped is always better than perfect. It's not worth wasting time on details that don't really have an impact, especially early on in the development process, before you've even launched. Like, you don't want to slow things down because that might, at the end, you might run out of money before you're even able to launch the product. And we decided that it's okay to hit a dead end if you're working on something, but it's very important to like identify that dead end and learn from it. What went wrong? Why did we end up here? And how do we get the development back on track? So here's how we typically structure our efforts. So whenever we're working on a new feature or a new part of the app, it always starts with research. Like I said, we have this huge amount of research that we've done, and we've documented everything. So at any point in time, we can go back. We store it all on Dropbox paper. We can go back and we can read through the things that we learned from conversations with our users. The next step in the process is do a quick paper sketch. This doesn't have to take long. Like, it could be 5 minutes, and then you kind of show it to one of the stakeholders, or you show it to an engineer, and kind of everyone gives the thumbs up. But it's important that throughout these steps, you try to loop in as many people as possible. As a designer, like, you have a lot of power over how much time something will take to implement. So also, like, the cost of it. So the more you kind of share your what you're building and gather feedback, the more you can make sure that your design is something that's actually realistic, a realistic thing to implement. After paper sketches, you go to pixels. Again, you show it around. If needed, do a quick prototype. For us, the next step is always build it. Like, Abstract it's a web app running in Electron. So building it usually it doesn't take a lot of time. We build it, and then we test it ourselves. And if we think it's good to go, we'll ship it. And we keep track of how people use it, does it meet the expectations, all that. And after that, it's just back to the start. So the second constant in our development process is the team, which is also very, very important, because you spend more time with these people than you spent with your own family. Like 8 waking hours. My daughters go to bed an hour or two after I get home in the evening, and I maybe see them an hour in the morning. So it's really important that you surround yourself with good people. You hire good people, because good people will do good work, but even better, good communicators are going to do great work. People who are good communicators, they have the ability to give good feedback, to receive feedback, and they're usually also really fast learners. And from my experience, like, I'd rather hire someone who's a good person than someone who's insanely talented. Because if you hire a good person, as soon as they join the company, as soon as they start working, you can just see them grow with the team. And also, talented people usually come with egos, which is not very good for a team. Now, it takes a team to build a product, but it takes a product to build a team. It's okay if someone new joins a team and you don't immediately feel like they're part of the team. I think it typically takes like 6 to 9 months for someone to become fully embedded with the team. And that's fine. Give it time. Create a safe environment for people to speak up. Like, if you're going to involve everyone in the design process, it's really important that they know that they can speak up, give feedback, be part of the conversation. Some people aren't used to being allowed to speak up, so it's very, very important to set some rules in place so people will feel comfortable in this environment you create. And this one is, like, very important to me personally. The more diverse your team is, the less, like, monotone your product is going to be. If you just hire clones of yourself, you'll end up with a product that just it doesn't really fit in the world. It fits in your narrow vision of the world, but just hire people from different backgrounds. We at Abstract, half our team is remote, live in different places, they live different lives, they have different interests, different ethnicities, different sexes. Like, all of that creates this hodgepodge of different types of feedback you can get. And again, if they are good communicators, they will be able to do all that in a productive way. Finally, we have users, and users are everything. You don't have a product without your users. And we always try to make sure to listen to our users. They'll tell us what they want, and then we kind of have to translate it to what they need. And we do that just like we have opinions. We know what we're building. We know the long-term plans of this all. But users they're part of your team, and you have to make them feel that way too. Like, you have to be available, allowing them to contact you and to talk to you. And you also need to keep them in the loop. We figured out this really nice way of communicating with our users after we implemented Intercom. So Intercom is basically, it's this chat bubble you see on a lot of websites, and you click it, and then you can talk to a representative of that website. And because our app is a web app, like, I figured we could put it into our app and allow our users to chat with us. That's what we did, and it was amazing. Like, someone could be experiencing the worst bug, but as soon as they realize that there's a human they can talk to whenever they want, like, all of that went away. All of those frustrations went away. So what we do is, or other mediums, obviously, we allow people to talk to us in Intercom, whether it's feature requests or bugs they're experiencing or just random conversations. But whenever we encounter bugs or feature requests, we'll create a GitHub issue for that. And then we keep adding, like, whenever that feature, whenever that bug gets mentioned, we keep adding it to the issue, which creates this really cool way to track and prioritize what you should be working on. All of a sudden, like, we have a new release, and like, dozens of people are reporting this bug. Obviously, that should be the most important thing for us to work on. And same with new features. And then the coolest thing is, once we close the issue, the conversation inside Intercom will open again. At that point, we'll go back to the users who asked for this feature, who reported this bug, and we're like, hey, this thing you brought to our attention, like, we built it and we shipped it, or we fixed it. Thank you so much for doing that. And that just instantly creates fans for the thing that you're building. So those are some of the things I think we did right. We also did some things wrong. I'll be available to talk about those if you're interested. What's the role of design in all of this? Because I talked a bunch about, like, multiple aspects of building a product, but I haven't really talked about the design itself. I think design is expensive. Like I said, designers have this power to decide over a lot of things, or they keep designs closed, they won't share. Like, I've seen companies go bankrupt because design was just taking too long to figure out what they wanted to do, and that's a really sad thing to do. Especially more junior designers, okay, like, they want to redesign everything, join a new company, redesign everything, and then create this massive cost that doesn't make any sense. I read this quote by Seth Godin. It's basically like, redesign your things when the accountants say so. Like, redesign the things that will make an impact to how your company performs. I think that makes perfect sense. Design needs to, well, design in the classic way kind of needs to take a step back, and especially in our case, like, boring is good. Boring design is not bad design. Boring design means it's there and people use it, and people don't even know, people don't even realize they use it. In our case, our design language it's boring. It's a white background. We have some really boring buttons. Buttons can be white or blue, depending on the importance. And that's about it. It's a very solid design system. It's a very flexible thing that we can use. But it's not fancy, which is fine, because it has to work across multiple platforms, and we don't want to, like, go and redesign it every single time. It needs to work. It needs to make it clear for people what is expected from them in the UI, and it just needs to take a step back. Let the content speak for itself. Design is also a conversation starter and a conversation ender. I think the role of design is to tell the story of what you're trying to build. And there are different phases to it. Like, you might be talking to the stakeholders. You might be talking to engineers who need to implement the work. You might be talking to other designers in a critique. Or you might be presenting it to your users when you're doing research. That's the role of design there. And again, try to make everyone part of the conversation. It's not a bad thing to invite someone from support, someone from sales into the design process, because they might have feedback that you've never even thought of. Especially at Dropbox, I spent some time working on a prototype for a new product, and we were super close with the sales team and the user research team, because they eventually helped us build a strong case as to why that product has to be realized. They know what people will pay for. They know, like user research let us know that, hey, this thing that you built, like it will take a lot of confusion away from our users. Like it is a better way to use Dropbox. As a closer, I want to come back to this quote. I still disagree with it, just in a different way. And I think this is a better way of putting it. So, thank you.